Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're blessed. So today I've got Akoto and I've got Goldust here, and we thought we would have a bit of a discussion on all these things about dreadlocks that have been going on in Ghana. So if you're not Ghanaian, you probably haven't heard, but there's been a lot of news going on about a young boy who got admission to Achimota, one of the really good, one of the best, I think, secondary schools in Ghana. And he was rejected later on because of his hair. So he has dreadlocks, and the school has basically said that they will not admit him on basically until he cut his hair. And there's been a lot of talks on it in Ghana, and some people are saying he should just cut his hair and go to the school, and then when he finishes secondary school, which is 4 years, I believe, or is it 3 years again?
3 years.
3 years.
Come back to 3 years.
And then when he finishes, then he will grow his hair back. But then in an interview that his mom did with Kofi Tv, I'll try and link it below so you guys can go and watch the interview. The mom is basically saying that the boy's dad is a Rastafarian, is their religion, and therefore he can't cut his hair. And according to Ghana's constitution, no child should be denied of education on the basis of religion, creed. So no child should be denied education on the basis of their religion. So that's their parents' excuse at the moment. So we're just going to share our views on it a little bit. But before we do that, I'll just get Akoto to introduce himself. I know you guys know Goldust, but let Akoto introduce himself. Akoto.
Okay, my name is Dennis Sapo Akoto.
Yes.
I'm a young African, and I currently live in the UK.
Yeah. All right, great. So I just thought it would be good for Akoto to share a bit about himself when he was in secondary school, because he went to secondary school in Ghana. So you can share how it was being at secondary school, like especially when it comes to appearance. Was it like by force for you to like cut your hair to a certain level? Did you need to dress a certain way? How was it like?
Yeah. Thank you, Annabelle. Before then, I would like to say this. Sometimes when I'm being asked to introduce myself, I emphasize that I'm African, because people be like, it's obvious you are black and you're African. No. There are Caribbeans who may not want to be identified as African. So it's good that it's good for people to know that not all black people are Africans. However, we all know and it's believed that every black person, can trace his or her roots back to Africa. So once again, I'll say I'm an African. Yeah. So back to high school. I attended Prempeh College. It's a boys' school. It's the best school in Ghana. I don't know.
Hello, the best.
Yeah, if you heard of Prempeh College, that's where the presidents attend. That's the school the presidents attend. That's where Kofi went to school. I don't mention names. I'm not good at mentioning names. So with all the prestige that comes with having admissions into Prempeh College, you may want to conform to do whatever is done in Prempeh College. So for me, personally, the experience was great. I was ready to do anything to become an Amanfo or to be called senior. That's after completion. So I remember back in school, before you go, already your parents know, or they've been made to believe that you have to keep your head down. So that's one thing. So you don't even trim your hair weeks before you go to school. The very morning, if you go into school, for me, I lived in Sunyani, so I was just like an hour and a half drive from Kumasi. So I could, just trim my hair in the morning and go to school in the evening. That is my case. So this is to say that you have to make sure your hair is freshly cut. In case any teacher wants to, say that your hair is bushy and you feel like, I cut it just 3 weeks ago. You want to make sure you don't have an issue like that as a junior in Prempeh College. So to us, that Prempeh meant everything. We made sure we followed these things without knowing the essence or how it affects people. For instance, a person who is coming from a Rastafarian background, we never thought of how it affects them. So that's how it's been for me. Then again, in Prempeh College, your first order of respect goes to your seniors, whether they're in the second year or third year. You know, what I saw in the UK as, or what people term as bullying in the UK, is a culture in the high school, especially the boys' schools in Ghana. So I look around, I sit around. I came into contact with young people, you know, in my initial work here in the UK, and I read about some things that people regard as bullying, and I'm like, no, this is nowhere near what was done to us back in Prempeh College.
That's secondary school culture.
Yeah, that is culture, and that is one thing that you learn to also do to somebody who, you know, comes after you. So I would have been termed as a bully. My seniors or my predecessors or the people I went to meet in Prempeh College would have been termed as bullies. But here it's almost a crime. So I'm going to put that in quote. We were bullied and we also bullied. That is how it happened. And that was the first order of respect in Prempeh College. From there, it goes to the school prefects. You know, these guys are gods. They are like smaller gods. You have your bathrooms open, and when you're walking down, you know, the main hall and you see them coming, you just have to run away, because you cannot stand there identifying you as somebody who is dressing anyhow in code. Right. So you try as much as possible not to come close to any of these guys who may find fault on you. So that was the second thing. Then it goes to the housemasters. These are literally your fathers in the high school. You know, when they know your name, you are doomed. It's either they're giving you chores to do, or they're looking for fault on you, or if they know your name for the good reasons, you'll be protected. Even if there is something bad that has gone on that you're part of, you'll be like, oh, this person cannot do that. So for what reason that the senior housemaster or the housemaster knows you, that is very good. The housemaster, the headmaster of Prempeh College should not know your name, except you are Brela, except you are part of the National Science and Maths quiz, or you are a prefect. Apart from this,
you guys lost.
The housemaster, if the headmaster knows your name, then you are a bad guy. That's one thing for sure. Because we have enough prefects for him to identify with, enough of the Brela team for him to, you know.
Akoto, recently did Prempeh not lose at the quiz?
No, we didn't lose. We had to step back for people to, you know, go further. You get it? Yeah, we didn't lose. We never lose. You know, on record, I would like to say, just to you know, it may interest you that Prempeh is a school that has produced the highest number of doctors in Ghana. Prempeh is a school that has produced the highest number of, should I say, seniors in all universities in Ghana. So if any school is doing better or is the best, it's Prempeh College. That is for sure. So let's not go too much into, you know, doubting Prempeh College. Yeah. So yeah, this to what extent I help Prempeh College in this high esteem. So imagine me being a little boy in Prempeh College, knowing all of these accolades and wanting to be called a senior, and being able to sit at the old school day in a speech and prize giving day with Kofi, ex-president of Ghana. It's a big deal for me, so I'll do anything. Yeah. So that is the way. So we went through all of these procedures and norms and cultures, not knowing what impact it has had on us. I didn't know for what reason that was stated in any policy or constitution for me to trim my hair to the level that the senior housemaster will be satisfied with. I never knew. All I know was it was a norm. Everything. I remember a time we were writing our mock before our WASI, and the housemaster will come to a big cane and walk through whilst you are writing the exams. It is a mock exams anyway, and they will lash you at your back just because, to their discretion, the height of your hair is above some level that is not accepted. Okay. So imagine receiving 5 lashes or 5 strokes at your back whilst writing exams just because your hair has decided to grow because you have enough vitamin A. That is a big problem. Yeah. So, and mind you, none of our parents made budget for us to trim our hair. I never remember my mom giving me extra money to trim my hair while I was going to school. All I had was cans of food, sardine, corned beef, some fast and convenient foods and some low money for you to buy food. The times you cannot go to a dining hall. There was no budget.
So could you go outside the school to cut your hair during the term, or how?
That's one thing. Unless you take ASIAT. So it's a long process to get an ASIAT to even go out to cut your hair. So what we did was, there were some of us, the colleagues in first year. Well, you don't dare go into a senior to cut your hair in first year, who could also maneuver around our hair. So you just beg your friend to just use some blade and comb. Man, there was not even a clipper. Yeah, to just do the needful on your hair. And you can imagine to what an extent damage will cause your hair. You don't know. It's just a risk you take. So imagine seniors running after a particular junior to cut their hair, and you junior also want your hair cut. You can imagine how long it's going to take you, because this junior or 2 or 3 of them who knows how to cut hair will have to put you in a long queue, and the senior housemaster does not know of this. All he wants to see is your hair is neatly, in quotes, cut. And to them, I believe what is neat is short hair, almost down to your skin. So that's what we've been through. I'm trying to talk about this hair thing because for us, man, that was the issue. As for beard, don't go there. You have to use some shaving stick to scrape off your beard before you get out.
Because I was just going to ask that now. Obviously, now you have all this going on. How was it back then?
What was it? So imagine a person like me. Look at my beard. I had beard in my teenage when I was in prep college. So I struggled. I had shaving balms. I have cuts and everything. Wow. So it was serious for me. Imagine using shaving stick that is used for go to the armpit and to shave the pubics for your chin, for your beard.
Yeah, that's
it's somehow I just don't remember. But I didn't even know what the stress I went through, but that's what we all did. So we as young people, back in secondary school, we all have balms, shaving balms, and there was a cream called Silverdem. That's what we used. You apply Silverdem on it, and that was the norm. Yeah, we didn't know we could just avoid shaving balms by just leaving our beard and trimming it later. Yeah. So that is how it was for us, and everything was laid before we went. So you just follow. You didn't ask questions. You did what was there, from scrubbing to personal hygiene to letting seniors eat before you do, to washing for seniors. Everything. It was laid down before we went to, and also, funny enough, and unfortunately, we also passed the same norm and culture in quotes to our juniors. So that is how it was for us. I don't know to what extent it has changed now, but that was our situation. And all of these activities were coupled with making sure you come out with good grades, because when you go to primary college, they expect you to get the A's, the B's. Even if you get a C in primary college, you're failing, literally. So that was it for us. You have to do all of these things and make sure you also, get good grades. Yeah. So that's how it was for me.
Okay.
Introducing Roots Shea Butter UK. From the crowns of the ultimate shea nut trees in northern Ghana into whipped shea butter packaged in style for your taste. Stand up tall and proud, sink your roots into the earth and be content with your natural beauty. Our brand of shea butter called Roots is in honor of our roots and helps achieve skin and hair goals wherever you are in this universe. Shea butter has always been used over the centuries to moisturize the skin, treat skin conditions, nourish the hair and massage the body. The skin and hair loves the added twist that Roots Shea brings into the market. Our shea butter consists of 95% of organic oil from Africa and 5% of essential oils such as baobab oil, argan oil, tea tree oil, sandalwood oil, and rose oil. It comes scented in lemongrass or lavender, or unscented. Whether you are in the Arctics, tropics, or in between, fall on Roots Shea Butter UK for your skin and hair maintenance. Roots Shea Butter, buttering your skin and nourishing your hair.
I have a question to ask you, Akoto, but before, Goldust, how was it for you? Was your secondary school a girls only school or mixed?
Okay, so I went to a mixed secondary school, and it was just for 2 years, and then I relocated to the UK. So I, for one, did not have the opportunity to be a senior like Akoto, to now, like, in quotes, bully someone to do whatever it is that, we were asked to do. Okay. However, I think with the mixed secondary school, it was very, it was more stricter because we were mixed with other sex. And obviously that is the age that people like to explore a lot and, get into relationships and get to be with each other, etc. So it was very strict. And as to his one, having to have an exit to go outside to get your hair cut, the house mistress would actually bring in a barber because there's no way you are going to have your hair grown and scuff it and have it all laid down and be looking nice for boys. So the house mistress would bring in a barber and you have to pay to get it done. And as he was saying, it was not like extra budget, but you have to pay. Even if you have to owe the head, like the house mistress, she would pay for you, and it will be written down that next time when your parents come to visit you, you're going to have to give them the money. So with us, hygiene was not just about the hair. It was basically, we had things like inspection. So it was in houses, everybody would have a house. So let's say here, maybe, I don't know how it would be, but then maybe in sections or in your groups. So it's maybe you are the white team, the blue team, the red team. So for us, it was in houses. So your bed sheets will be checked. Under your bed will be checked. Your shoes, how you polish them will be checked. Your uniform, how you're wearing your house uniform, even where you put your belt, where you put your skirt, the length of your skirt, all these things will be checked. And then your surroundings, bathroom, the gutter, the polytank, everything will be checked. And houses will be graded on how neat they are. So you don't want your house to come last, because when it comes last, it's a disgrace on the house mistress. And after that, you guys are the ones that are going to be punished. So it's people would work extra hard for that neat factor. And for me personally, I think it groomed a lot of female to become the African version of, oh, this is how a wife should be. You should clean, cook, do this. So it's whilst you're in school, you're being trained to do that. That is why you went to secondary school to, you're basically being groomed to be someone who can take care of a home. And I feel the boys got the same thing, but then men come out and they forget that they had that same training and expect women to be wife material when they all had the same thing. So for me, neatness or appearance was a major factor, because you actually get marks for it. You get credit for it. So you have to appear that type. And also in our own classrooms and everything, we didn't have cleaners. You would go in the morning. It was part of your duty. So let's say your house, you take care of the campus, and maybe another house they take care of the canteen area, maybe another house take care of the dining hall area. It rotates. You don't get the same portion every time. So maybe the next time you come, your house will be doing a different thing. But whatever your house has, you have to. I remember going to sweep classrooms before the class would come, because that is your house's plot. So you have to make sure that things are done, because if it's not done, then the PE teacher, who is the physical education teacher, would actually go to your house and just say who was supposed to do this, and your name would come up. So it was very important. But for us, they actually made facilities to have, our haircuts and everything, because we were in a mixed school, and it was very important for them that people were not coming to school to have boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, but coming to study. So whatever it is they would do to basically make you look basic, they will do it, because you have to look basic. You came to school to study, and you have to be uniformed to get your mind off everything else but the study.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you're saying that, Goldust, because so I briefly looked up kind of the history of secondary schools in Ghana. And so Achimota was actually kind of built by the white people, right? Our colonial masters. I think most when I was reading through it, most of the kind of uniformed things that you're talking about now was kind of brought in by the people who built the school. It was part of the school's policies for, obviously the students to look neat and everything, and that's understandable. We even have that here. Students have to look in the part, and it's fine. But I think my issue at the moment is the hair thing. So when this whole dreadlocks thing came up, when the young man issue came up that he was not going to be admitted into the school because of his hair, a lot of people were saying things like, oh, but why can't he cut the hair? He can just cut his hair and then go to school after school he can regrow his hair because it's school policy. And when I was watching the interview, the boy's mom said that it's all part of mental slavery. That the people who brought in the whole idea of secondary school to Ghana, like the people who built Achimota specifically, they didn't know how to take care of our hair. They didn't know how our hair should be maintained because they didn't have our hair, and therefore they thought that our hair was ugly. So this is what the boy's mom is saying, and that's why that rule has lasted, and she feels like that should be changed. So she's basically not going to cut his son's hair. So my question is, do you guys feel like it's a mental slavery thing?
I was actually going to say that, so it's not because it's not every school in Ghana that does that. So I was actually going to say that people would go from primary to junior high school and have their hair, but then they are actually mentally prepared that they're going to have their hair cut because you're going to secondary school. It was like, it was a thing. Unless you're going to a private school and the private school doesn't care whatever you do to your hair, then because it's a private school. But then people actually go through that. Oh my God, I'm about to go to secondary school. They finish writing their BEC and they're practicing short hair. If they were braiding their hair, they're practicing short hair because that is what they're going to have. And I agree with the mom, but then not to the extent of the mental slavery. But I agree with the mom to the extent that when I go to secondary school right now, I don't have all that luxury of I can go to the hairstylist on every Saturday. I don't have that luxury of my mom is going to give me money to go and re-braid my hair. I don't have the luxury of, there'll be a braider here, this and this. So it's like, it's work, and you went to school to study. It's like you're basically gone to a boarding place. So if you were in a day school, fine, maybe you can, go home and come back, because most day schools keep their hair because they're going home and coming back. But then in a secondary school, I believe that they continued with that because when I go to secondary school, I don't have that luxury to continue taking care of my hair. And that would be an extra hustle just for me to do in order to stay in school. But then to think of it as a mental slavery and actually the background, it makes sense that if Caucasian people were the people that brought secondary school, they couldn't handle African people and they go, okay, let's just cut their hair. Whenever it grows, we cut it again. Then that's it. Then she has a point there. But I didn't even know that this was the background story. But I was going to say it's a thing that a lot of people in Ghana prepare for. From primary school all the way to junior high school, people have hair, and then when they're going to secondary school, they just go and cut their hair. Nobody even forced them. They just go and cut their hair because they know that's the normal thing.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think? Do you think the mom has a point saying that it's a mental slavery thing that his son has?
Yeah, I have a strong opinion, and I believe that this is systemic racism. It's an institutional racism. It's a serious one because let's like Goldust mentioned, people go to JHS and primary schools, they have their hair on. What happens? They are not made to cut their hair because the junior high school and the primary institutions were not established by white people. Our secondary schools were all established. I mean, the best ones that we learned from to establish a few others or many others were established by white men, from Infantipim to Achimota to my own Prempeh College, even to Opokuwari School.
Yeah.
And these were were mostly or predominantly white missionaries. So they are typically the people who came with the slave masters. When I say missionaries, I mean, when the slave masters, I would like to say slave masters because instead of passing on religion, they ended up enslaving our forefathers. Most of the time when people are saying, when people are talking, they say they ended up enslaving us. No, we are not currently enslaved. So they enslaved our forefathers. So these missionaries had links, or they were brought on the ships of the people who came to enslave our forefathers. So all their establishments had connotations to slavery. That's the whole thing. That is how come when people are in the primary schools, they're allowed to leave their hair or just grow their hair uncut. By the moment they get to the secondary schools, it is almost a law for them to cut their hair, because at the time, the white leaders, and I'll give an example. For my college, the first headmaster was called Pearson. He was a white man. So we actually have Osai, who we say is the first black headmaster of Prempeh College, which is an African, West African, Ghanaian, Ashanti Royal School. How is it that we name a profound, headmaster, and we say he's the first black headmaster of a school that was built in Kumasi, the land of Ashanti, the land of Otu 482? That means for a long time, Prempeh College was headed by white men. Who didn't like the slaves? Who knew slaves were humble the moment you cut their hair? So for a young black guy to be humble, he cannot leave his hair. It's too much powerful. Do you get it? So that is how come people will go to through primary school, they have their hair on, but before they get to secondary school, they know, like Goldust is saying, that they have to cut their hair.
Yeah, and they prepare for it. It's like while they're on vacation waiting for their results, everybody's thinking, oh, what hairstyle have you started? Like, people start cutting their hair to see how it will suit them. It's like, they're preparing for it, but I didn't even know that was the history behind, so you just said it now. Because it was like a norm, it's like a ritual, like puberty. Oh yeah, I've reached secondary school, I'm ready, let me cut my hair.
So that's what happened. So that's how come the white people who headed our secondary schools that's how they wanted to see us. They wanted our hair down, a very low cut hair, and for whatever they believed, the moment the black person cuts his hair, he becomes humble. They're not supposed to leave their hair. You can just trace it back to the Bible. I'm not trying to be too religious. Samson, the Bible says Samson had 7 strands or stripes of hair. And how can hair, in what way can hair be divided into 7 unless it's dreads? So Samson was a black man. The white hair cannot be molded into any dreadlock. You get it? So hair for the black man is strength. And that is how come our hair is kinky. And that's how come when you relax the black hair, it becomes light like the white hair, even though it's not the same. The moment you relax or you try to perm the black hair, it stretches, it becomes light, it becomes airy like the white hair. So the typical hair that was created in humanity was a kinky hair. Once a white hair cannot, or any other hair cannot bounce back into a kinky black hair, but the kinky black hair can be relaxed to be blown by air. That means the crude hair that God created was a black hair. And that is strength of humanity. And that's how come the black man is deemed strong. The black man, for the same age, for the same body size, and for the same weight, if you put a black man on a scale and you put a white man on another scale, and you ask people to rate their strength, people will just say the black man is stronger just because he's black. And nobody told us this. It is within. The moment you sight a black person, you see strength. And the hair has got to do with it. So that was how it happened. And that is how we're made to believe that we only look good when our hair is cut closer to our skin. And all of the other secondary schools that emanated in the time looked at these schools as model schools. So they also learned the whole thing. The black man didn't know how to make policies. So they copied the policies of what? These white established schools. The Boche, the Prempeh, the Achimota, the St. Augustine, the Adisadel. The Ghana school, I don't know whether Goldust school was established by white people. I know. I guess
I don't even know the history of it. I'm sorry, but
so that is how it happened. So all the other schools modeled these schools that were established by the white people as what? The yardstick for progress, in high school education. That is how come it is all over Ghana that black people, and I'm not going to say students, I'm going to say black people in secondary schools are supposed to cut their hair, including women. I'm saying this because I have a friend who was half caste, mixed race, who had that kind of hair in a girl's school. She didn't cut her hair. We knew of girls in St. Louis who were white, whose daddies were expatriates. They didn't cut their hair. We know of people.
Even in Chimota Secondary itself,
we have white people.
A Ghanaian celebrity, is it Lydia Forson? Yeah, she tweeted like some pictures because I think she went to secondary school there. don't quote me on this, I might be wrong, but she tweeted a few pictures from her time in secondary school, and she was standing in pictures with people who had their hair tied up in a band, and they were white.
What was their race?
Like, they were Caucasian people that I'm sure their parents came into Ghana to do like contracts and things like that, and they had to stay for education.
Exactly.
So she was very high on the tweets because she was like, "This is the secondary school I went to. This is secondary school that look pictures of these people in this uniform. That is the same secondary school that's rejecting this."
Yeah.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is, I at this point I think I shouldn't defend why I think this is systemic racism, because in our own country we are made to cut our hair as black people, not because everybody is supposed to cut his or her hair, but because the black hair is not neat when it grows. But the Caucasians, the Asians, even the mixed race will be allowed to leave their hair on because their hair is nice. I think I have to end it here.
Akoto, you're right. It's really a shame, to be honest, because I think it has kind of like trickled down to the point where even our parents, and I know like I have cousins who when, especially male cousins, when even now that they're grown and they are working, they are their own people. Now, if their hair grows even a little bit more, you hear comments from uncles, from aunties. You hear comments like, "Oh, like won't you go and cut your hair? It looks very," the famous term, "It looks very bushy." Won't you go and cut it? And even me, that I have natural hair, like my parents have made comments about it.
Yeah.
To the point where, a lady of your caliber shouldn't be having hair like this. And I kind of had to educate my parents on that. To the point where like I had to tell my mom that this is the hair that God gave me. And I can't do much about it. Like I can style it however I want. I can choose to do whatever I want with it. But this is it in its natural state. And it can't be any nicer than this, or it can't be any neater than this. And I feel like it's quite sad that in the age that we're in this world, that we still have to kind of drum it into people that it's okay for the hair that you were born with to be this way. It's okay for you to have this hair. And for me, one thing that has made me quite sad about this whole issue is that the interview that I was watching on Kofi Tv. So the boy's mom was saying that since this whole issue came up, they've been getting comments. So people have been making comments, like, for example, you hear people saying that, oh, because he has dreadlocks, he's going to influence negatively the other students to start smoking cannabis. Like, he's going to start influencing the other students negatively to do things that stereotypically people who have dreadlocks are stereotyped to do. And when I heard that, I was quite shocked, because obviously these were Ghanaians making the comments, and I was really shocked because I was like, so right now people still think that if you have dreadlocks, automatically there are certain things that maybe you do, or there are certain things that will be associated to you. And obviously these are all some of the reasons why the school, I'm sure, doesn't want to admit the guy. And I don't know what you guys think of this. So GES, so the Ghana Education Service, actually made a comment initially when the whole thing came out that the boy should be admitted. But then later on, when I was watching the interview, the mom mentioned that when they went back to the school to have a meeting with the headmistress and the GES, a member of the GES, they were actually then told that they were not going to admit the guy because, and then the example that was used. So the mom said that someone at the meeting mentioned that if they admit the young man with his dreadlocks, eventually, I think there's like, I forgot the actual word they used, but eventually someone would turn up to school in like traditional clothes. So for example, if let's say someone who is from the northern part of Ghana, or someone who maybe their people dress in a certain way that is not traditionally like, or that's not how normally people would dress. The school was basically saying that people would end up turning up to school looking all sorts of ways. Basically, that was their excuse.
No, because that is a school uniform. We're talking about something on somebody's head. A school uniform is different because even in this Western part of this world, there are certain schools that wear uniform and there are certain schools that don't wear uniform. Yeah. So uniform is uniform. Even in working class, like there are some services that don't wear uniform. There are services that wear uniform, and then maybe some workplaces they go dress smartly. A uniform is a uniform. I go to work and I wear a uniform. However, we're told that our hair should always be tied up. So yes, I can still have my hair this way, but then I tie it up and then I put my hat on. Yeah. A uniform is a uniform. It doesn't mean I'm going to come to the workplace and change it just because I'm allowed to wear my hair however way I want it.
Yeah.
This is a boy who, like, basically, this is his religion. It's like, for example, Ghana is a Christian country, okay? So if they're going to say that, okay, they don't allow this, let me just give this example. Because when I went to secondary school, Ghana is a Christian country. But when it gets to Sunday and Muslims do not want to go into the chaplain or the chapel or whatever, they allow them to go and do whatever they want to do. So they allowing them to practice that religion. Did they take anything from the school? No, because they gave them the opportunity to practice what it is that they believe. Yeah. So Rastafarian is a religion. And if you've given people the freedom to practice religion, then that is part of his religion.
Exactly.
Great.
Because if you would not let everybody go into the chapel and allow people to be Muslims, allow people to be Rastafarians. I'm not here to say, oh, being a Rastafarian is a wrong thing or is a good thing, but that is the religion the person was raised with. They know no other. Maybe by some magical reason, when they come into the school, someone will convert them, and maybe by the time they go back home, they'll tell their parents, I've cut my hair because now I'm no longer Rastafarian. Then that's between the boy and his religion and his parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
All right.
Sorry, Akoto, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I'd like to comment on the bit that says this guy is Rastafarian, and when he's allowed into Achimota, he's going to influence other young guys to smoke cannabis. I mean, at this point, if people are still identifying people with dreadlocks as users of cannabis, then it's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
I just Googled bald men and cannabis. I just wanted to be argumentative. I was just looking at what I could find, and funny enough, this is what it says. The study of men and women aged between 18 and 60 who regularly smoke the drug found that young males in particular were prone to effects of regular hair loss. So how is it that people smoke, Rastafarians smoke, and they still have their hair?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that cannabis usage has got nothing to do with a kinky hair that folds up into dreads. Again, can cannabis help prevent hair loss? On the contrary, as a result, they can suffer premature balding. So we should take a second look at our bald guys. Perhaps they are smoking the cannabis. Then again, there's another research here. I just want to prove, this is on Google, just type bald men and cannabis, it shows. So cannabis usage has rather got a direct, I can say it's directly proportional to what? Baldness. I'm not saying people who are bad are just a disclaimer, are cannabis users. They could be by genetics, but there is a percentage of guys who are bad because they've been smoking cannabis. So if this is the case, then there is a study in Amsterdam, where smoking of cannabis is legalized, which also proves that cannabis usage can cause hair loss. So I don't know to what extent, whether it's scientifically proven that Rastafarians smoke cannabis. I know. I grew up in Ghana. I know that is the perception. But now there is a lot on the internet. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening around us. Let's just go into the homes. Let's go into the basic units and identify the weed smokers, the cannabis users, and see how many of them have no hair. How many of them are Rastafarians? How many of them cut their hair neatly? We have guys who now use cannabis as leisure and as just a casual thing, like people say I drink occasionally.
Social life,
social life.
In my line of work, we get people and we're like, why do you have this on you? Oh, it's just for social life. Yeah.
So why do we at this point, make any relation between cannabis and kinky hair? I just want to use kinky hair because this is the hair we were created with, and that is our hair. And when it's left uncombed for a long time, it dreads up. So why are we relating cannabis to our typical identity? Was Samson a cannabis user? No. So those people that say that have no basis or have no scientific, cultural, moral, or informed, basis to make that determination that this guy, look at this guy. I watched the video, the interview. This guy is cooler. Allow me to say cooler than many Achimota guys I have known, that I know now and that I may know later. So what is the point?
It's true.
And he's actually a smart boy. Very smart.
Really smart.
Yeah.
And I think I think there's even more sad thing about it is that, so the mom mentioned that, so she has 3 boys and they all have dreads, and she was like, now she's actually dreading, no pun intended, that when her younger children, when it's time for them to go to secondary school, they are going to go through all of this as well. And for me, I think someone mentioned that they when I was reading through the comments, someone mentioned that they wish the president would step in and say something, because these are some of the things that they would need his view, not even his view, but they would need him to kind of be like, as a country, the people that are in this country, naturally, that's how our hair is, so just allow it, type of thing. And I think a reform like that would be needed in Ghana, because mentally, we've like Goldust was saying, like we've grown up to come.
It's not a big deal. Oh, I'm about to lose my hair between secondary school and then they'll grow it again when they go to uni. So it's like immediately, the female finishes like secondary school, because I didn't finish secondary school. I left and came to continue here in the UK. But in like, once we finished secondary school, and I could literally go to most of my friends' Facebook page right now and go to like their 11 years ago, 12 years ago pictures. And it's like, once they finish secondary school, they start gelling their hair and, like they're ready to regrow it. It's like, wow, we come back out and, I'm about to look all fresh again and, all nice. And it's just something that was embedded in our heads. So it's like, it was just normal and it shouldn't be. However, I'm not saying that, if this is the policy of the school, they should cancel their policy and allow things like that. Because, there's this also aspect where it's saying, if you really wanted to go to this school, you read the policies of this school. So are you willing to do what it takes for you to go to this school? Because there are private schools out there that would allow it. Because I have like friends that did not go to public secondary schools. They went to private secondary schools and then they had their hair. They did everything that they wanted to do.
Goldust, but then does that then mean that students or young men and women who are academically they can attend Achimota or they can attend other prestigious secondary schools? Does that mean that because of religion or because of maybe decisions that their parents have made concerning their looks or concerning their identity, because of that, they can't go to these schools? And I feel like
they should be able to go to this school. So I was saying it to come and meet it to the point where now secondary school is free in Ghana. So yes, I am taking that advantage to get that education because maybe that's what my finances can get. Because before, when secondary school was not free in Ghana, people would pay to go to the places they can afford. Even if sometimes they don't get admission to certain places, they would go and meet the headmaster or know some house mistress in some school and then pay to go for it. So this is a situation where this is a very smart boy. And maybe his parents want to enjoy that free secondary school policy. So this is where they want to go. But then this is also a situation where, as you were saying, because you have to look at two sides of it anyway. Like the headmistress can sit there and then open the policy to you and say, well, this is the policy of the school. You should have read it before coming to the school. So it's like, yes, because of certain things, we have to look and amend certain, certain constitutions or like have a reform or whatever. But then besides that as well, before I was coming to this school, this is what was there. So was I ready to face that challenge that if it gets to this, would I be able to cross this bridge? Because you have to consider both parts as well.
But if change. So personally, I get what you mean, but I think something that has been there for years and years and years, and which I don't know, because I didn't go to secondary school, and I don't actually know if these training, especially when it comes to appearance in secondary school, like with cutting hair, if it actually has any like long-term positive impacts on the children or the students. So
as Dennis said, it takes away your glory in a sense. So it's like the long term.
I'll come to that again. Yeah.
Whilst you're in school, you feel like you're nothing. Not that you're nothing, you are something, but then whilst you're in school, you feel like whatever it is that made you so glorious has been taken away from you. So all the focus is now on education. So it's like, if my hair is taken away from me and I'm really nice, then I'm really nice.
Yeah.
If my hair is taken away from me and my head shape is this way, then my head shape is this way. So in a sense, that is the impact, because most girls did not get people to date them in secondary school, but then after they're like, oh, I didn't know you were this nice. It's like, what do you mean? So, it's like that impact, like a lot of people lost their self-confidence when they were in secondary. A lot of people were not who they are when they were in secondary school, because a lot of things were taken from them, and it all came from like their hair. It was a big identity to people. So yes, it does have a negative impact, but then the positive impact I believe it had was the things that I said, like it grooms you for the future, because most people in Ghana during secondary school go to boarding houses, and even here in this country, children who go to boarding houses are seen to be prim and proper, because in boarding houses you are like putting into a certain structure. It's like when you come out, you're a certain type of way.
But I think that's on the academic side, not on the parent side. For this
Annabelle, I think what Goldust is saying is so true. I mean, the bit that says it is a way to demean you, to make you feel, to take away your glory. And that is so true. I'm going to cite an example. But before then, I would like to touch on how this has been, contentious, because it has been a long-standing policy or rule or a social contract within the the senior secondary schools and around the same level of education, that black people are supposed to cut their hair to fit in. Even now, we have men marrying men legally, women marrying women legally, and people have sat down to know that this is what some people want to do, and they should have the freedom to do that. We're not going to go into Christianity or Islam or into religion. I'm talking about civil rights. I'm not advocating or anything, but what I'm saying is, it is time for these schools to sit back and reflect on who made these laws. What is the essence of this law? Goldust cited an example on children here going to boarding schools who come out as well-groomed. They don't cut their hair. They rather teach them how to groom their hair. Do you know hair grooming is a topic? It's actually a keyword session. I know some of you understand. Hair grooming is a topic. Instead of them teaching our young brothers and sisters how to groom their black kinky hair, they are rather telling them to cut it.
They should get shea butter.
It is so appalling. You should get shea butter. You should apply shea butter. Tell them how to
UK.
And at what temperature, when to expose it. This should be a very good session. Or we learned life skills and everything in school back in JSS primary. This should be taught.
It was how to cook and sew.
Why is that when it comes to hair, when they talk about keeping a good hair, they say cut your hair. They'll not tell you how to twist it, what oil to put in, what are the alternative or cheaper ways to groom your hair as a young person who may not have a lot of money. This is what our children or our younger brothers should be taught. So for that bit, that it is a policy in the school, and if you cannot do it, don't come to the school. It doesn't hold water. I don't want to use any harsh word. It doesn't hold water because these policies were not made by us, and for a long time nobody has sat down. And when you know change management, this is the first step of change.
It's true.
It's just like somebody with opposition defensive disorder. When you say something that is against him or her, they just oppose. And that is what the system is doing. The system is just opposing. But we have to push for a consensus to be reached. People have to sit down to assess the impact of this hair cutting on the grades, because they go to school for grades of this case. Because mind you, if you're going to have anything to do with hair cutting, with the lifestyle or the grooming of these children, why is it that when they come out, they come to do their hair or leave their hair? So teach them how to do their hair whilst in the secondary school.
Get first class degrees in university.
Exactly. And one point, just to give more credence to the fact that this is a way of dehumanizing the black children, especially the female. Yasantua Secondary School, I had female friends in Yasantua Secondary School. When we went to these set programs, we were like 3 months to finishing school, and they had left their hair with the aim of what? Doing something with their hair when they finished school. You know what their headmistresses did?
They put
when they are writing the paper, when every student is, when the core subject is when all students are present, the house mistresses and the teachers, male teachers, will go around with scissors and cut through their hair, just so they wouldn't look beautiful when they finish school. For the intended boys that the teachers think they are going to look good for these boys outside school. What does that mean? So you see, cutting somebody's hair against his or her will is a prison term.
Because people cut their hair for.
I have been to paramilitary training for 1.5 years before I became a customs officer in Ghana back then. This is history. When you go to the academy, you cut your hair. Why? Because in the military parlance, you have to be disciplined. And the first way you can subject to any order, because when they say this, you say yes, sir. When they say move to the right in trace, you say yes, sir. And that is military.
Obey before complain.
Yeah, you cut your hair. So you cutting your hair is a way of bringing you down, no matter who you were. If you were a bank manager, if you are the son of the boss of customs or whatever, the moment they cut your hair, it's a sign that they humanize you, they dehumanize you, they've brought you down in a good way. In that balance, it's good because that is what the first step of what getting to succumb to military rule. In this world, we have laws and we have military laws. That's why we have military martial law, court martial, where we can actually take you there as a military person. That is so. In that balance, it's okay. So look at these guys who are civilians, who are not military people, having to cut their hair against their will. An example that I cited about cutting the young ladies' hair just before they finish their WASI exams, just so they look ugly when they go home. So these girls will have to come home and stay for another 3, 4, 5, 6 months before they get the hair that they need to do skirmishes to fuel themselves. You understand? So I will say without equivocation that all of these things that we've been doing is systemic racism that was, just lorded over us by the slave masters of our forefathers, and we are naively following suit, trying to, still, stay loyal to these kind of policies and all. So I'll say again, why is it that people leave their hair in primary school, they have to cut it at secondary school and leave it in university? Just because the secondary schools were built and the institution was set up by white people. So we have to take a second look, a critical look about all the policies that were made for us that doesn't really relate to us as black people.
You've said it.
Emotional again.
You've said it so beautifully. I think that's like the first time I heard this story, that was my main thing. Like, we have to reflect on some of the rules and regulations in our various institutions and actually think about it. Is it benefiting the people of the nation that we are in? And I couldn't agree with you more. I don't want the video to get too long, so I'm gonna end it here. But I just really hope and pray that something will be done about this, because I feel like otherwise it will just keep going on. I'm sure there have been students who had dreads who wanted to go into the school and then they were not admitted, and then their parents just didn't say anything about it. But this parent is probably one of the first ones to come out to be like, no, this has to change. And most of the time, people who want change, they will go through turmoil.
It's like Rosa Parks. It's like once you spark the change, it goes because she said no. and then it changed.
Exactly.
Now people could sit on buses.
Exactly. So
it's like once you stand for something, that's it.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. So I'm really happy that you guys have come on for us to talk about this, because I feel like the more people that actually see the need for it, I feel like the better, or maybe the quicker change will come about, because it has to come about. And it shouldn't also be that, oh yeah, just take your children to the schools that will allow their hair. No, like it should be the same rule for every child in the country. And these educational institutions are the places, like Akoto said, are the places that are meant to be training future leaders. And if future leaders are being trained to not accept who, the way God has created them to be, it's quite shaky. So I really hope that something gets done about this. But thank you guys so much for this.
All right, then bye everyone.
Oh, I was thinking we we're going to discuss the social economic implications of this.
If we keep talking, our video is going to be like 3 hours.
I know.